Pennsylvania State House. That was the original name for this building. Construction of this building began way back in 1732. That happens to be the same year George Washington was born. So I doubt very seriously in 1732 if there was much talk about independence, revolution, or breaking away from the British Crown. They knew this as the Pennsylvania State House. It would not become nicknamed Independence Hall until many, many years later. This building was built and housed all three branches of Pennsylvania government. On the second floor, that would be the executive branch, the governor of Pennsylvania. Right across the hall, the legislative branch, the Pennsylvania Assembly. But here, the judicial, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, highest court in the colony of Pennsylvania. Well, as you can imagine, back then under British rule, something different would have hung above that center chair. Coat of arms for the King of England. It was made of wood and it looked something like this. Judges found themselves seated up on the bench, lawyers at the round table, and the jurors to the side. The general public, like yourselves, were allowed, invited, and encouraged to come watch a courtroom trial taking place, and they would stand in the public area where you are standing now. Had you come into this courtroom back then, you wanted to know who was on trial, well, that person wasn't very hard to find at all. They'd be located right here. Now, this is referred to as a prisoner's dock. As you look at it, you may notice that something is missing. A seat, a chair, a place to sit down, not allowed. And that is simply back then because when they said stand trial, that's exactly what they meant. The defendant was required to literally stand for the duration of the trial, facing the judges and his or her accuser. But somewhere I read in the court of law, you are innocent until proven guilty. It's kind of hard looking innocent standing in this jail-like contraption. So eventually, the prisoner's dock was done away with. The date was July 8th, 1776. The Declaration of Independence was read to the public for the very first time out in the State House yard. Following that reading, a group of men became so moved, so inspired by those words, they would actually storm this courtroom, run up on the judge's bench, remove that king's coat of arms. They would drag it to the center of town. Later that evening, decided to burn it in a bonfire. Sign a protest, sign a rebellion, but that was their way of showing their support for the Declaration of Independence. With that same action, attacking the king's symbol of authority. Take a moment or two to take any photographs you like of this room, and we'll continue across the hall. Once inside, rooms spread out to the left and to the right. What happened in this room? They wrote the Constitution. Very good. What else happened in this room? They wrote the Declaration of Independence. Not quite.
He signed it.
They signed the Declaration of Independence here. Okay, what else happened in this room?
They filmed the movie John Adams.
Did they film the movie John Adams? No, they did not film in this building. They did not film even in this city or state. Yes? Bill of Rights? No, that's Congress Hall, 1791. What else happened in this room? We got the signing of the Constitution. We got the writing of the Constitution, signing of the Declaration of Independence. What else happened in this room? Second Continental Congress, very good, met in this room. Starting in 1775, the Second Continental Congress met right here in this room. Representatives from 13 colonies gathered in this room to discuss issues they had with the British Crown and eventually decide to be, well, they want to be free and independent states. Well, ladies and gentlemen, before we get to the signing of the Declaration of Independence, before they got to the signing of the Constitution, before they got to the creation of that new nation, we lose sight of what happened in this room. What it took to get there. We forget that there were arguments, that there were debates, there was sacrifice, and there was compromise. When Jefferson is working on the Declaration of Independence, this is not Thomas Jefferson and 55 yes men. Every gentleman in this room at the Second Continental Congress had a voice, had an opinion, had something to say. Out of the committee, they do in fact choose Thomas Jefferson to work on the Declaration of Independence. Jefferson works on that document for about 17 days. He is trying to capture the sentiment of the arguments and discussions that took place in this room. Finally, he finished the document, the Declaration of Independence. He returns. The men in this room decide to go over that document word by word, sentence by sentence, paragraph by paragraph. Because if you're going to put your name on a piece of paper in which your life is on the line, you want to make sure that document says exactly how you feel. Upon review of that document, there was some problem. Because from the original draft to the final draft of the Declaration of Independence, there were over 80 changes. Now try to imagine Thomas Jefferson, after all that hard work, sitting in this room, listening to the arguments, the debates, the bickering, what he later himself would call the mutilation of his precious words. Eventually, the changes are made. They are agreed upon, and on July 4, 1776, they adopt the Declaration of Independence. Hello. Hi. But all of the signatures are not on that document until August 2nd of 1776. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you really think about it, it does not matter when they signed the Declaration of Independence, because signing that document did not get them any freedom. The American Revolution went on for another 7 years after the signing of that document. So for those 13 colonies, unfortunately, that meant more fighting, more killing, more dying. Finally, 1783, the American Revolution comes to an end. They defeated the British. They're in fact free and independent states. Are their problems over? Are their problems over? No. They've defeated the British. They're free and independent states. But you say their problems aren't over. You're correct. Because during the American Revolution, they put a document in place which is kind of like a league of friendship amongst those 13 states. A document titled the Articles of Confederation. Well, under the Articles of Confederation, at the end of the American Revolution, guess what? Each state is feeling now independent of each other. They decide to expand their boundaries, make their own money, impose taxes, create their own navies. So at the end of the American Revolution, you have 13 states acting like 13 different countries, each with their own money, not getting along very well. Well, that was not quite what they had in mind, and that was very far from the United States of America. They needed to be reminded that they defeated the British by sticking together. So right back in this room, May of 1787, they begin the Constitutional Convention. Initially, they are trying to fix the Articles of Confederation, but that becomes nearly impossible. They scrap the Articles, they begin anew. But a new document emerges, the Constitution of the United States. And it's very clear what they're trying to do, because it's in the first line of the Constitution. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union. Something they did not have under those Articles of Confederation. So right back in this room, starting May of 1787, they began the Constitutional Convention. They eventually decided upon a strong central government, a system of checks and balances with 3 branches of government. Ladies and gentlemen, let us not forget, words agreed upon in this room still govern this country today. The Constitution of 1787. Any problems with that document? What's wrong with the Constitution of 1787? There's no Bill of Rights. That document says not one single word about any of the rights, privileges, and freedoms they had just fought for during the American Revolution. People became concerned. We just fought a war for those individual rights and freedoms. How would they be protected under that new nation? That began to open the floor for possible amendments in the Constitution. Eventually, 1791, they ratified the Bill of Rights, granting citizens freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of the press, the right to bear arms, the right to assemble peacefully. Ladies and gentlemen, those are rights, privileges, and freedoms we value and cherish today. But how soon we forget they launched the American Revolution. Those are the very same things they were fighting for way back in the 18th century under the reign of King George III. Of everything in this room, the only original item happens to be that chair. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that is the actual chair that George Washington sat in during the time he presided over the Constitutional Convention. It's been nicknamed the Rising Sun Chair because during the Constitutional Convention, Benjamin Franklin often wondered if the sun on the back of that chair was rising or setting because just looking at it, he couldn't tell. During the final days of the Constitutional Convention, Franklin shared with many of his colleagues that he then had the happiness to know the sun on the back of that chair was indeed a rising and not a setting sun. So perhaps Franklin was being a little optimistic about the work they accomplished, the documents they put in place, that strong central government under the Constitution, and the future of their young nation. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it is one thing to see a picture of this room, You could have stayed back home and read all about it in the history book. But I don't think anything compares to physically standing right here in this room, trying to imagine what happened then and how it affects our lives today. This concludes our tour of Independence Hall. I want to thank you for coming and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you very much.